Archer being a free unit and contending with other limited characters is a breath of fresh air for HSR. It's worth looking at since he doesn't have any new or unique mechanics that make him strong, he just slots into the game neatly. As someone who's been playing Star Rail since launch, one of, if not the most challenging parts of building a team is speed. It's what turns fights in your favor, not only because it determines how many actions your units can take per turn, but also in skill point economy. The base SP of Star Rail is 5, starting the battle at 3. Skills cost 1 SP to use, and using a basic attack restores 1 SP. A very standard team will have a cycle that uses about 2 SP, 3 if sustain like healing or shield is needed. The usage is 2 as an amplifying unit is going to spend 1, and your damage unit will spend 1 to do damage. So speed is important as the basic attack of another unit is often the difference between having full uptime on damage. Your team is SP positive by having buffs that only need to be used infrequently, like every 2 or 3 turns. This is because between needing to spend SP, the unit will be using basic attacks to balance out the spent SP. Then, negative SP teams are teams that use skills frequently with little space to restore any SP. There are 2 routes to take here. Your damage unit is either as slow as possible, with your amp unit of choice being as fast as possible. Or your damage unit is just a touch faster than the amp unit to act twice in a row. I mention this because it paints a better picture of where damage units slot into teams and how Archer deviates just a little from it. Archer is a unit that consumes troves of SP and recovers SP between cycles, so much so that he increases the SP cap by 2. Being intentionally slow not only means he can benefit from more attack, but also so that you can generate SP for his skill. His skill is Kalidbolg, putting Archer in a state where he consumes 2 SP to fire an arrow, firing until you call the skill off, run out of SP, or after firing 5 arrows. After firing 2 of them, the skill's damage is increased by 100%, meaning you will always want to fire more than 2 arrows. Importantly, other units can use their ultimate while in this state, which does allow for gaining SP during the skill. Pairing this with his signature light cone, which increases his attack and further increases it by the consumed SP, he can reach comical numbers quite quickly. Only requiring SP, and the mentioned buffs not all carrying over multiple turns, also means speed is an afterthought for Archer. He is a rare case in which having a 100% critical rate is a requirement, with critical damage being balanced out by other party members. Interestingly, this does somewhat solve the issue that single target units have against multiple enemies. Since the skill only ends when you end it or you run out of SP, these massive buffs can be put onto the second target to chunk or outright kill them. For his talents, when he has charges and another ally is attacking, he will launch a follow-up attack at the target and recover 1 SP. Charges are gained by entering combat with his technique and after using his ultimate. These charges can be consumed during his skill. His ultimate is Unlimited Bladeworks, a single target ultimate that has the most glorious description. Single target attack scaling by 1000% of his attack. As for relic sets, they're rather straightforward. Archer is a quantum railgun, so the Genius of Brilliant Stars set is the best in slot for him. Extra element damage and ignoring defense against quantum enemies just means bigger numbers. Scholars is a close second, if not for his 220 energy cost ultimate, and potentially losing value by not having enough SP to push out enough arrows. The best planar set is Rutilant Arena, keeping it rather simple with an increase to basic attack damage and skill damage, while providing some much needed critical rate. Inert Salsato somewhat synergizes, increasing the talent and ultimate damage, and also providing critical chance. Though the lack of benefit on the arrows makes it a poor second to Rutilant, with other relics checking his speed, a stat that's been discussed and would be dumped. Returning to the discussion of amp units and speed, Archer only has one true required unit in Sparkle. She not only brings him up the order and increases damage dealt based on SP spent, but increases the maximum SP count by another 2 points, bringing the maximum up to 9. And with her ultimate, she recovers 4 points of SP. Archer can be brought up to act with about 5 to 7 SP, and during the usage of that skill, Sparkle can use her ultimate, and recover 4 more. Even then, newer accounts can get away with Hanya, as her skills restore 1 SP after hitting the target. For me personally, the fun part about building his teams is trying out different amp units. Silver Wolf can make him punch through enemies by implanting Quantum. Both Ron Mei and Remembrance, main character, can take his raw damage and increase it by a flat amount, especially true damage, as it takes a portion of Archer's already large damage. Most teams will have an amp unit using every single action they can fit in one cycle to bring the damage unit to the front and have them attack, whilst the rest of the team is either covering up damage taken, maintaining buffs, or generating SP to maintain damage uptime. Archer does break away from this formula by being less about how many actions he can take and more about managing SP efficiently and spending it all on damage. I quite prefer this playstyle because it feels more deliberate and methodical than just sicking a Sunday in the meta DPS of the month against bosses. There's something satisfying about seeing the damage ramp up after a few actions. This unit sounds all well and good, no? Base speed, accessible, relatively simple gameplay. It's all good until you're up against anything with more than 2 targets, or any boss with damage reduction that's tied to other targets. Bosses like Pollux require the 2 side targets to be broken to do full damage, which Archer struggles to do because of how his skill works, and ultimate works, and how his teams work in general. Another shortcoming is in light cones. I did mention his personal light cone because that is the best one, but it's also because it is one that's technically free, as the current banner that holds Saber and Archer, if you spend 200 you'll get the first copy of your light cone for free, but that still doesn't fix the problem of every other rarity lower than 5 stars, just kind of sucks on Archer. Then there's a question of whether or not these issues outweigh his strengths. I would argue no. He's a tool that helps scattered accounts blow through enemies that other strategies struggle with. Sure, he may be only good for so many things, but at the end of the day, I'd much prefer a tool to do a job rather than the go-go gadget that lasts 4 months. Some limited units are just like that. The obvious downsides also make it interesting to discuss because as the game continues, he'll ebb and flow from being very good to being a little bit on the weaker side. The way I see it, he's a good unit that, generally speaking, will be useful for a good while, unless some new mechanic doesn't use attack to do damage, or vice versa, being resistant to attack. I can't see where he can be excluded from newer content. For Archer as a unit, I like the way he turned out. As a Fate fan and someone who has played Fate Grand Order, this depiction of Archer is closer to how he's shown in anime form, while fitting within Honkai Star Rail quite cleanly. Personally, as a Fate fan myself, I'm glad he is as straightforward and effective. In an environment where ultimate conditions are getting really unique and buffs are thrown around like it's nothing, a unit like Archer is so refreshing to see. Though I will attest, it's another new unit without Tribby, so I'm not too fussed. Each passing day without Tribby is knowing that my tickets go to someone else I find more interesting, like Saber. And Saber. I saved months for her, only to dump half of the fund on Sunday, so such is the way of gacha games.